Coming from the Caveman Studios in Buffalo, New York. Welcome to Caveman Corner with your host, Jeff.
Captain Caveman!
Dance.
Click subscribe and the bell. Do it now!
All right, I'm here with Ryan Undercoffer. We have some slight technical difficulties. He's coming to us on our phone, so you're going to hear a little bit of my reverb when I talk. But other than that, we're here. We're live. We're going to talk about a fundraiser we're doing for the Matt Urban Center. We are going to be doing that very soon. I have the flyer right here on the November 25th. We are going to be doing it from 10 to 1 o'clock. Ryan is going to roll for 3 hours, and we are going to try and smash him, I think. I don't think we have the time on this flyer here, but I don't see it.
Oh my gosh! Oh wow! Well, we'll fix that.
Yeah, 10 to 1. The roll-up is going to be 10 to 1, so we'll make sure that we fix it. Can you tell us a little bit about the Matt Urban Center?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to somebody that I work with about how like they're when you have you work for an organization or you have a business, whatever, you want an elevator pitch, and the elevator pitch, it's like something you can say on an elevator ride and somebody will understand the gist of what you do. It's hard to have an elevator pitch for what we do because we do a lot of different things. Mainly, so we started as a community center in the early 1900s in our building. Polish immigrants coming to the east side of Buffalo. By the 1970s, it was like a community center, recreational activities for kids, stuff like that. Over the last 20 years, we've just started doing a bunch of stuff. So housing is a huge part of what we do. We have we own 5 different apartment buildings, all for low income people, most of them for people with special needs. So coming from homelessness, mental illness, substance use disorders. And then we have a senior housing apartment building. In addition to that, we have case management, which is coordinating the services that people need, given whatever their kind of situation in life is. We have several different programs for that. All of our, I should say, probably the majority of our employees are case managers. Then we also have youth programming. So we offered, we had our summer program over the summer all day long for kids at 2 different sites on the east side of Buffalo. We have case management within our youth program for kids who are involved with the justice system and trying to get on the right track. We do a lot. So that's a long elevator ride for me to get that out, but that's what I got.
That's awesome. We sat down and we talked about this in the gym for probably 2.5, 3 hours the other day. And I had so many questions for you, and we talked about the plight of the homeless. And I was really inspired to make this happen, and I want to get the word out there. If you listen to any major podcast, you hear a lot about the homeless problem and how to deal with it. What are some of the problems that you guys run into? What can we do to help? There's so much going into.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry if I was at the beginning of that you cut out a little bit, so I think I know what you were asking though. But as far as the problems that we see, there are many, right? But you can kind of sum them up with this cycle that happens, the cycle of displacement that happens. So if a person, this in particular affects people with mental illness. It also affects people with substance use disorders, but they go hand in hand so very often, right? If you have no support network and you're self-medicating for a really serious mental illness, that very quickly spirals into a substance use disorder. So for people in that situation, they might end up on the street, right? Unhoused, living on the street. Maybe they get into a shelter. If they're lucky, they're they find some kind of case manager that's able to get them into some kind of permanent supportive housing. But without real support, without support that's like really taking care of what they have going on and the problems they're facing, it's very easy for that person to end up getting evicted and being homeless again. And all along, I mean, every step of the way, there's all kinds of opportunities to be arrested, to go to jail, and now you're adding complication to it. If you do have a substance use disorder, if you're using, certainly IV drugs, like, you're going to be exposed to fentanyl at some point. Like you might, if you survive, if you get through all of these kind of barriers, you still might end up not in a situation where you have the support that you need to get better. If you're, what we kind of, I'll say the way that we're trying to approach things going forward, like heading into 2025, is looking at permanent supportive housing which is the bulk of what we do. That's the word for housing with case management involved. So it's not just an apartment building, it's apartment building, but we have people who are there to really help you get on your feet. It needs to be as intense as you can get it, because a lot of people are on the edge of needing to have a higher level of care, like some kind of in-home care. And often people are in situations where they are, I mean, we're all one bad decision away from an arrest, but when you're, if you have a substance use disorder, it's like an everyday threat. So just trying to bring together more supportive services, more people involved, and especially clinical people, to be a part of these programs and bridge that gap that's there right now. Like if somebody needs a higher level of care, it's really hard to get somebody with a mental illness into like a place where they'll really have all the supports that they need. So instead of just I don't know, I don't want to say like, instead of just like throwing up our hands and be like, that's how it is, I'm really looking to improve our programming so that we're filling that gap a little better.
So let me restate what I just heard.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is you deal with people with substance abuse and nowhere to go. You put them in an apartment, and right now there's not a lot of help for them in the apartment. They're just and they are what they are. And you're trying to add more people to help them case manage in each apartment. So like there's people to help in each apartment, correct?
So there is help. So they do get help. So we do have case management, and it's a huge step up from unsupported housing. It's way better, right? It's a much better situation. But there's a subset of people who, and a good number of people we work with end up getting into way better situations, and it's like the best part of the job. It's amazing. We have a couple people who work for us now, who we met through these programs, and they got on their feet, and it's just awesome. That's the best thing ever. But there's a subset of people who have needs that are really hard to meet in a traditional permanent supportive housing setting, who are kind of on the borderline of like maybe need a higher level of care, like some kind of assisted living or some kind of there's all kinds of different ways that can look, but basically the answer as we see it, given the program we already do, is to bring in more people who are able to support the case management, also provide like crisis intervention. So in a situation where someone is having a mental health crisis, or some kind of anything connected to substance use or mental health disorders, someone who can de-escalate that situation and get them what they need to get better. But oh, my man Butch, no, not exactly an Oxford house, we're not faith-based, first of all, but also actually, maybe I'm thinking of something. Maybe I'm thinking the Oxford that AA thing. I forget what they call it, the Oxford group or whatever. I don't think I know what an Oxford club is, but sorry, what was I saying? So to connect people with services like in the midst of a crisis, that is one way to prevent like the sort of the arrest part of that cycle, right? If you're having a mental health crisis, a lot of times that ends in an arrest. You know, if you're acting out in a way that's making people feel unsafe. But if you have a professional person who can de-escalate that situation, you have a chance to intervene and like get them treated versus getting arrested. And it's not to say that BPD doesn't try to do that. They really do. But we avoid that escalation if we have the right kind of intervention in-house.
Anytime there's an interaction.
And one more thing. So the other thing is having. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Well, just the other piece is like having more clinical staff. So people who are like licensed clinical social workers or potentially like licensed mental health counselors who can like really respond in a more clinical way, I guess, to put it simply. And really connect people with like just have a better handle on how to respond to these situations.
Yeah, I was gonna say anytime there's an interaction with the police, you're always one bad day away from something catastrophic happening, especially with people with mental illness.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just more of a risk. Even the police doing everything they can, you know, to prevent that. It's just how it works.
So when you're dealing with this, do you have any other resources besides for just you guys putting these people in the apartment? Do you have any other sources of being able to help these people? Are you just one small step in the chain? What is the deal with what you guys do?
Yeah, no, we have a lot of different services in-house, but we also work with other agencies to provide other services. So we have a food pantry, we have a clothing closet, we operated a diner for years, but then opened a building at 243 Sears where we now have a permanent supportive housing complex and our food pantry and clothing closet. And then we have a Feed 716 that's a separate organization that provides meals at a urban diner in that building. So we're able, you know, and obviously we work very closely with them. They're right in our building. But we're also like case management at the end of the day is like, in addition to the day-to-day support that you give the individual when you're a case manager, it's connecting them with other services. So that's like our bread and butter is like finding who is able to help with these problems and getting them the help that they need.
That's a pretty amazing thing. How much of your day do you spend fundraising to make money? How much of this is government assisted? How much is donation? Like, how are you guys funded?
So that's a great question. So we are last year's financials for us. We were like, it was around 1% of our budget was fundraising. That's not enough. It needs to be more. We have the bulk of our funding comes from government contracts and grants from mostly government entities, but also foundations. And again, we do get private donations, but it's a very small part of our budget. And one thing that in the nonprofit world, like that is not uncommon, like what I'm describing. But it really creates an issue because when you get money from a government entity, there's always a cap on what you can spend on administration. And one of the things that falls into administration is fundraising. So if most of your money is coming from government contracts and grants, you're not allowed to spend very much of it on fundraising, which then makes you more dependent on those grants and contracts with government entities, and less independent, less able to like money that if someone writes us a check, just a private person, we can do what we need to do with that money. Like it can go toward whatever we need as an agency. Whereas if we're getting a contract for a particular program from the state of New York or from the federal government, there's a bunch of rules about like how every dollar gets spent, and they're not terrible. I mean, it allows us to offer really good programs, but fundraising gives you flexibility to like guide the organization the way that needs to be led. And yeah, we need to do more of it. So thank you for that. Nobody ever cares about that answer. So I appreciate you giving me a chance to rant about it for a minute.
But I think everyone in real life has been in a situation where you work for something and you have so many costs and expenses, but you don't have a way to deal with it. So if you're not putting your own money in, or you're not finding a way to get something for whatever you do, it just doesn't happen. And obviously, I'm sure there's a lot of people that fall through the cracks, but you guys want to help as an organization that you're not allowed to because of some certain rule. And if you have extra money, you can just do it. Could you give an example of that, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, there's almost like too many potential examples for me to pick one. Well, what happens is like you'll have some program will have like an income guideline. So you can only serve people under a certain income or with a certain level of assets, or another guy like a mental like. Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you that one is when you're required to have clients who are homeless. There are different, depending on the level of government that you're dealing with. The definition of homeless could be different. So if someone is like couch surfing, like they're just like friend house to friend's house, by one definition they might be homeless because they don't have a permanent residence. By another definition, they might not be, and so they wouldn't be eligible for that program. But they might be eligible for a different one that we have because we're dealing with different entities. So that's one that does come up a fair amount. And then with income guidelines, it's like someone might be clearly in a bad situation, homeless, and maybe unable to get housing for any number of reasons, but or need support of some kind, that we then they make a little bit more than they're supposed to, so we have to either go ask the entity that's funding us for an exception, which can take time, and that's time that a person's on the street, or we can't do it. So that it does come up, definitely comes up.
That's terrible. So anyone who wants to come to our fundraiser, I'm going to put the link in the chat right now, so it'll show up in the chat on wherever you're watching it. You can just click on that. You can come to the fundraiser. You can come to the door. Are you really ready to roll for 3 hours?
Mentally, yes. I am. I am as committed to this as anything. I mean, I'm like, it's literally the least I could do compared to what the people I work with do, and what the people we help are going through all the time. Like I'm ready to do it mentally. Now, my main concern is, am I going to pace myself? Because I like yesterday, there's a bunch of us training last night, and we rolled for like, I don't know, hour and a half, maybe between an hour and a half and 2 hours. And we're like doing the math. It was like, I think it ended up being like 11 or 12 rounds. And I'm like, when I started, I was thinking like, okay, I'm going to try to pace myself this whole time. And then I start rolling with like Ilfrey, and I'm like, no, I can't. I get like, it's just going to be more fun. I got to just, let's go.
So here's a rule
know.
I did, and this might help you. If you tap the guy, rolls over.
Interesting. I get a rest. Interesting. That interesting, and that's interesting because it's gonna. Yeah, on the one hand, it's gonna. It could. Yeah, I don't know. I gotta think about that because if I'm hunting for the tap too hard, I might be better off just taking it easy for 5 minutes than going all out for 2 minutes. To try. Yeah, I got to think about it, but that's a good rule.
That's gonna play into the strategy too. Like it's a lot easier to like just let someone that's not really pushing the pace that hard just sit in your guard for 5 minutes than is to try and tap them. But some of those guys that are wild, it's just easy to tap them and take 3 minutes off too.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I knew I was gonna ask you on here for some roll-a-thon advice, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was my number one advice, and number two was tired just in your mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Just flat.
Well, I was telling Ilfrey yesterday, like when we were done, because he's got a 1-year-old, and I have my youngest son is like a few days apart from his daughter, and I was like, I realized this was probably his first daylight savings time with a baby who's on a schedule. And because babies they don't change, the clock doesn't change for them. Like my kid gets up at 5 every morning. He's getting up at 4 now. So like it's tired. Doesn't always feel like it's in the mind, but yeah, hopefully that day it'll be something I can suppress at least for 3 hours.
Tired, not sleepy tired. Sleepy tired is a real thing. That your body needs to recover, but out of shape tired is just in the mind.
There we go. I'll take it.
I will donate to. I'll donate. Oh man, I don't know how much I can donate. I'll donate. Geez, what's fair? I'll donate $5 a tap from the gym. For
really?
Yeah. As long as you do one tap roll.
People I tap?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go.
Yeah. One per round though, because like if you get someone that's cheap, I can't be paying you like thousands of dollars.
No, that makes sense though. That's a good rule. One per round. That works. Yeah, whether we're stopping at one tap or not, it's one bounty per
one bounty per
round.
I'm not giving up the bounty on myself.
No, I know you aren't. Oh man, yeah, it's what's that?
If you get the bounty on me, you definitely got it. I'm not giving it up.
I believe it. No, that I believe. Yeah, I'll have to. I have someone who works for us. Her son does judo, and he's gonna come. He was like the first person to sign up. I'm like, I should probably. I don't know if he knows the rules, and like, I don't want to just pull guard on him and like, put him somewhere he's not. He doesn't know about it, but I also don't want to get like tossed on my head the first round. So I'll have to think about that. I also might do no-gi first. What's that?
Yeah, just sit guard. Sit every time. You only got to touch. It's gym rules, so whatever you want to do.
Yeah. I keep thinking about that too. It's like how much. I don't know. I just love wrestling, but it's so tiring. It just takes a lot out of you.
And then you gotta say if you're gonna do the wall or not too, because people will try and push you on the wall and be like, "Hey, we touch the wall, we gotta reset."
Interesting. I feel like I don't know. I'm going into it. I'm like, no, we gotta definitely use the wall. I mean, honestly, I use the wall sometimes to rest. So it's not. I'm not. Yeah, I don't mind using it. I would rather I feel like a reset would hurt me more than it would help.
For sure. Man, I can't believe you're gonna do it. I'm so excited for this. How many people do you think we can get through?
Man, I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm nervous about getting enough people. I want to be able to first of all, I want enough people to go the whole time, like that's like 30 rounds with just me, like that means, I assume I'm going to double up some people, but like I still need enough to like last the whole time. And then, go ahead. Sorry.
I did 22 on the 4th of July, and then 22 different people. And then Butch didn't roll with me, so that would have been 23. John didn't roll, obviously, so that's 24. Forrest didn't roll, that's 25. And then I did like 5 more rounds with Muhammad after because he wanted to train more. So you definitely get your 30 rounds in, no problem.
Good. Okay. Good. Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm doing what I think I can, to get the word out. Apparently, I'm not telling people what time it's at, unfortunately, but I'll fix that. Fix that on Monday and get that out.
I didn't notice it now when I brought it up. I was like, where's the time?
Same. I've shared that thing a million times and never noticed it. I mean, it got through a couple of us at work looking at it without realizing it. So yeah. I mean, if you go to the link, I think it says, but anyway.
Every time we post it, we always put the time on it. So that's maybe why we didn't realize it. Like I posted a few times too.
Yeah, I think you're right. Every time I caption it or whatever, I do say the time. So yeah. Well, we'll fix it though. I wanted to have it on there.
Yeah. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus right now.
No, I'm glad you told me. I didn't think about it. I seriously did not realize till you told me, but we got to fix it. We will though. But that, I mean, I don't know how many people are coming. I'm like trying to, I've trained a few different places. I mean, I've trained, what I would say way longer than most purple. So I've been a lot of places and have met a lot of people who are still training. So I'm hoping people come out. That would be awesome.
Why don't we go through your jiu-jitsu journey, man? I've never actually really talked to you about this. So what started you in jiu-jitsu? Walk me through all the gyms you've been through and white to purple.
Yeah, sure. Cool. Yeah, I started when I was in high school. Like it was like I'll start. I did karate from when I was like 9 till I got my black belt when I was like 16 and 17. Yeah, 16, I guess. But when I was like my freshman year of high school, I had an uncle who liked UFC and would get the pay-per-view sometimes. So I started watching it and got like obsessed with it. And like, I remember getting like, that was like early days of ordering anything online really. And I remember like getting a Walmart gift card for Christmas and finding UFC DVDs and buying those. And I would watch that stuff. And I was on, I don't know if you remember, it might even still be around, but like the Bullshido forums. Did you ever go on there?
For sure. It's still around.
Yeah. Okay. I went on there all the time at that point, and it was like, the whole thing was like, you got to do jiu-jitsu. It's the only thing that works. And obviously people have different attitudes about that now that like people have figured out how to strike successfully in the UFC and in mixed martial arts. Like it's a different conversation now, but the gist then was like, do jiu-jitsu. It's the only thing that matters. That and wrestling. So I started wrestling in high school because that was available to me. There was no jiu-jitsu around. And then like my senior year, I went to, I think, was it Western New York BJJ at that time that Chuck had in Lockport? Yeah, it was what Chuck was running it in Lockport. It was on, man, I can never remember the name of that street, but if somebody said it, I would remember. But started training there for like the summer. Like my dad, we set something up with them. I remember Parker, the guy who the Papa Leo's guy.
Yeah,
he was there. He was like I don't know, running. I don't know what the relationship was or whatever, but he was like running some part of the business there. And I remember him and my dad working something out where he was paying for just the summer for me, and I was doing that after I had wrestled for a few years and had been doing karate. And then in college there was like a jiu-jitsu club, so I did that when when I could. Then had a few years where I just like fell off and was not doing anything healthy. And eventually came. So I graduated high school in 2007, graduated college in 2011. And from, I don't know, it was probably 3 or 4 years before I started at Booma when they were on Main Street. That was probably 20. It's probably easy to figure out, but I don't know. It was probably 2014, 2015, maybe 2013. I don't know. But yeah, started training there. And I remember the first day rolling with Keith, who was a purple belt at that time, and rolling with everybody. But I remember going up to the front desk the very first time I was there and taking my credit card out to sign up, and I was literally kneeling on the floor because I was so tired. Like I was like leaning up against the desk on my knees on the ground to set up my membership. So that was a nice impression to make. But yeah, I was with them for a long time. But took basically every time we had a kid, I would end up taking some time off. And so that, that took time out of it. But after a while, work schedules would change. I went to Niagara Falls BJJ because it was really close to my house. Ended up going back to Booma for a while. Then like another work schedule change prompted me to look at Integrity because it's closer as well. Amanda and Josh were there, and Alex was there at the time, and now he's back. That's right. So I went and checked it out. Brought Joanna a few times, my daughter, to try it out, and you were awesome with her. So yeah, it ended up working out, and I've been there for, I don't know, 3 years, 2 years. You got to be 3 years at least, right?
Yeah, 3 years now. Yeah, definitely
something like
3
that.
years.
Yeah.
Jared's been there like a long time too. Holy cow, you guys have been forever. I was scared to like reach out to you because you were still a Booma student, but it was one of the best things that ever happened to me to come to the gym.
Oh man, thanks. I appreciate that. I remember all that too. Like it was every time I went anywhere, like every time I switched a gym at all, like I always have talked to whoever was running the one I was in first to be like, here's why I'm doing this. Here's what I'm thinking about. Does this make sense? And like with Josh Ketchery at Booma, both times that happened, he was like, oh yeah, I have a friend who's over here. Go do that. And then, and like with both Niagara Falls BJJ and with Integrity, when I said I was thinking about going to Integrity, they were like, yeah, he's like one of our close friends. Like, yeah, that would be awesome. So it's always worked out. And thank you, Jared. I saw that chat. That was very, very kind of you.
Yeah, he wrist locks all the new people. So if you come to the roll-a-thon, look out for Jared's wrist locks. And I don't know what else he's gonna do. Probably
a roll-a-thon's the perfect place to wrist lock people. like no, you're getting a lot of people who are, especially like this. I feel like we could have a fair number of people that are kind of new. I'm guessing, just like people who are interested in it. They're not going to know what a wrist lock is. That's the best people to wrist lock.
It's more fun to wrist lock Hayden.
I don't know, man. Hayden is so tough.
Jared's an electric.
I know. I never mess with his wrists. Yeah, that'd be great too. Those are much more dramatic. He's right. The list. He's got the list going.
So
he did so.
Go ahead.
I can't remember. No. Me and Jared were. I can't remember. It was close at one point. Within the last couple of weeks, I feel like he was getting there, but not yet. I'm not on the list yet.
He got me in an ankle lock. I didn't think you moved that fast. You dropped on my heel. Got me good, man. I was like, man, that's fast. You're so fast for a big guy. I'm never letting him touch my legs again, though.
Yeah, no, he's ankle locked me before too. Yeah, but the electric chair, no, not yet.
No, I don't let him in my legs. No way. I'm not getting the banana splits. So what's
I interrupted you though, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what's a successful outcome for you for this fundraiser? How much are you looking to make? What can we do to help? Can we run some other like fundraisers along with it?
I mean, great question. Because it's the first time we've done it, I don't have like a huge. I kind of don't know what to expect. We're doing a lot of like trying to get some like press coverage of it. Excuse me. At the end of the day, like in addition to the kind of personal part of it, where like I'm sorry, I'm like gonna have a coughing fit here.
That's okay. That's what happens when you roll me. I choke
Sorry.
you out and knock your store. I got it.
That's right. My trachea is can't handle talking this long anymore. In addition to like the personal part of it, of like just being able to put in like a physical effort in support of the Mad Urban Center. Part of it is just like I hope that it's interesting to people that like the executive director is doing this and that it gets some attention. That's really that's my hope. So if that gets the word out, even if it's just getting the word out about us, so people know, hear our name again, and start maybe just gets people thinking about it. That is a good outcome. But as far as amount of money, I mean, we are right now doing our end of year fundraiser. The total we would love to hit is like $70,000 by the end of the year. And there's different parts to it that all make up a piece of it. I mean, if I don't know. I guess I don't know what's reasonable. I don't know what to expect exactly, but yeah, as far as something alongside it, we've talked about it a little bit, like a basket raffle or like a some kind of like raffle situation or something like that would be
50-50?
a possibility. 50-50 would be, that's a great point. Yeah, we could do 50-50.
We do 50-50 for Warriors Next Adventure, and we'll raise money for them. We also sold cookies, so maybe some kind of bake sale thing or something.
Awesome.
I don't know. There's like some other stuff we could do with it too. 50-50 is not a bad idea. Just get some tickets. Shouldn't be that hard to do.
Yeah. No, I think we have tickets we could use too. That would be great. Yeah, great point. Yeah, bake sale kind of stuff. Anything we basically, I know like size like the space constraint is an issue because we kind of, it's the mat space and then probably a table out in the hallway, I guess. Whatever we can.
Yeah, we can get a couple tables up in the hallway too. Like we can use that whole hallway. It's it's Saturday. There's not a lot of people in there. We go out in front too. We can definitely do stuff. We raised quite a bit of money for Feedmore too. Dr. Troll jumped in and did something. He did a yoga thing and we did rolling. For Warriors Next Adventure, I think we raised $2,400. We did. That was not too bad for such a small space. Yeah, so hopefully we can get close to that.
That would be great. Yeah, I would love to. That would be an awesome. That'd be awesome to come away with that and just get. Like I said, it's the money is super important, right? We definitely it's you need that, but even just getting the word out about us and getting people talking about it and kind of like I feel like for an agency that's been around so long, it's just not, and that does so much. It's just not as well known as I think it should be. Like if you work in homeless like services for around housing insecurity, like yeah, you'll know who we are if you're in Buffalo, but outside of that, it's unless you like live on the east side or I don't know. Or if honestly, you know what happens? A lot of people who grew up like in that neighborhood when it was just a community center will tell me they remember going there and like playing pool after school or whatever, but they don't realize that we're like a multi-million-dollar real estate developer and like providing thousands of people with case management every year. So just getting people to understand what we do is a big thing that I hope comes out of this too.
You're also a 501c, right? So anything that you donate will be tax deductible. So anyone, if you just want to donate and you don't want to roll, feel free to come donate as well. Hopefully, if you run a small business, you want to donate, you need a little tax break close to the end of the year, good time to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, we're all set up to give you receipts and for your taxes. And yeah, we'd love support from anybody who can give it. I know there's a lot of people who there are a lot of small businesses, a lot of just people who would like to support the type of work we do, but if they don't know who we are and they don't have they don't have the opportunity presented to them, then they won't. So yeah, this is just another. It was funny because somebody asked me, well, what are we doing to get the word out about this? And I'm like, the people who are going to be interested in it, as far as like the jiu-jitsu world, I feel in Western New York, like I think people will know about it. I think we'll get the word out pretty well. I think a lot of people know now. But if you're not in that world, it might not, you might not know what's happening, but that's okay. We just need just even getting the word out in this little subculture we've got going is a helpful thing for sure.
I train with you all the time. Like, you go to my gym. I've never heard of them at Urban Center before. So I actually thought you worked with troubled kids when you started. So
well, I mean, we do. That's not inaccurate. It's just yeah, because we had a conversation at one point. I'm guessing this is why that you thought that, because we were running an after school program, and we would use we always were looking for different activities to bring in. And I knew I had heard that the McBrides had done something sort of, working with kids in that area of the city. So I asked you about it. And we ended up, it ended up that the school district kind of changed how they do that. So that's not something we're doing right now. Hopefully it will be in the future. But yeah, that is one. I mean, we do a lot with kids. We have our youth programming has been like the most consistent thing since the 70s that we've done. Yeah, we'll always have some kind of programming there. I mean, our case management right now with kids who are like, they've been arrested. They're generally on probation, and we're trying to help them get it together, get back on the right track. That's a big part of what we do now too in our youth programming.
Well, in martial arts place, maybe we can make something happen too. Donate some time for you guys.
That'd be cool too. Yeah, we've got there's a lot of possibilities, I think. And I mean, martial arts are just it's just such a great, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, probably everybody listening too, but just such a good thing for a kid to have. And I know, so I used to coach, my wife worked at a transitional housing facility. So that's people who are coming from homelessness, but the expectation is you get on your feet and then you move on to a permanent housing. And there were a ton of kids there. So I started teaching them jiu-jitsu when I was an early blue belt. I started teaching jiu-jitsu there, and the kids now this feels like 100 years ago. The kids are all in college now, and they're I hear what Lauren saw. I can't remember. She saw one of them recently, and they were asking about jiu-jitsu. Is he going to start doing that again here? Is he going it stuck with them. It was something that meant something to them. So yeah, I mean, it's a powerful thing to bring to kids.
Me and Mustafa always wanted to make free wrestling in Buffalo for a bunch of kids and get the inner city kids wrestling there. And it never worked out for the two of us, but I've always been interested in helping youth too. It's always something I really want to try and do, as the gym grows and grows and grows.
That would be awesome. I mean, it would be so helpful. there's I mean, Power Cats here. I don't know what the pricing structure is there. I mean, there's a ton of kids doing it, and it's been like a breeding ground for great wrestlers for a long time. I don't know if there's something similar in Buffalo. I don't live in Buffalo. I work there, but I wouldn't be plugged into that scene the way I am in Niagara Falls. So
most of the schools don't even have wrestling teams, so there's like no wrestling in the city, and it's there's so many great athletes in the city.
for sure. Yeah, that is a shame. Yeah, I didn't realize that there weren't. Yeah, no, you're right. Every time I hear, like, even when I was wrestling in high school, yeah, it was rarely a Buffalo school you were hearing about. It was usually rural areas that have the best teams, or like, suburban areas that have the really good teams.
Yeah, we would go in the city and make just a squad of killers.
Yeah, right. Well, it wouldn't take much, right? I mean, you get kids when you start kids off young and then they're in middle school because they're at the low end of the high school weight classes, like it doesn't take long to get get kids that young, like a bunch of killers.
And here's the thing, man, like people always say the youth are so bad and people are so bad, but people just need something. And you give somebody something they can excel in, whether they're good at it at first or not, they're going to try their very best. And if you're trying your very best, you're going to be good. And that's what helping people is all about. Giving them something that they strive to do and like letting them accomplish something. You get that feeling of accomplishment. It helps you in everything you do in life. And if you can excel in sports when you're a kid, you realize you can do anything. And people really can turn their lives around with that. It's replacing like unhealthy addiction with healthy addiction. We talked about that too, but I really want to give everyone healthy addictions.
Yeah, absolutely. Sports can be such a key part of a kid's confidence, and even if you're not a great athlete, right? And most of us won't be, right? Like most of us won't be like truly great athletes, but it's not everything in life gives you like immediate feedback on whether you're getting better or not, but sports generally do that. Like, can you do a move you couldn't do before? Can you is your cardio better? You're not getting as tired as quick? Or like you're seeing that, oh, if I put in the work, like I actually get something out of it. And that's how many things in life are just that. Like as long as I can remember that if I put in the effort, it's going to be worth it, then I'll put in the effort,
Yeah, and that's what wrestling is all about. And martial arts are about that too. And I really think that youth can do good things. And just like the homeless problem, I'm sure like you get people back into life and they're being productive members of society. They feel a lot better. It's a lot easier to progress.
Absolutely. There's, as I'm thinking about the people who work for the Mad Urban Center now that were clients of the Mad Urban Center. There's always like they're finding hobbies that they didn't have or that they had way back, because you do need to kind of latch onto something. Like every hobbies are a healthy thing to have. And when it's something that you can like measure your progress and see that you're getting better at it, that's such a valuable thing, especially when you're in recovery or just trying to get back on your feet, like having something physical to do that keeps you healthy and it's fun and hopefully gets you around other people. And that's, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, goal setting and accomplishing goals that you set with work is the way to go.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I promised you I wasn't going to throw you under the bus, but I got a question that might be throwing you under the bus. And I've been debating whether or not to ask you for a lot of this thing, but there's a lot of people that would say, like, why about helping these people? They can't get their stuff together. Why should we help them? And what would be your answer to that question?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun because when you ask that question, my mind goes to like, when someone is asking that question, they have like an idea in their mind of who they're talking about and who I'm talking about when I say we're helping people in these situations. And it's just, it's it's probably not accurate. It's very likely that, you have a caricature in your mind of what a person who doesn't have a home looks like and what their life is like. At the end of the day, though, I mean, if you, how do I put it? If you're, you got to ask yourself, right? Like, what do I, as a fellow human being on this earth, with all these other human beings, what's my responsibility? What is my, like, is it, if you don't think that it's your role to help people in a worse situation than you, then that's okay. I don't know. You don't have to think that. But a lot of people. What was that? Sorry, but I think it's. I don't even know what I just did. But I think a lot of people, do feel a need to do feel like that is part of being a person, right? You want to help your fellow man, as they say. As far as like the specifics of a person with like substance use disorder or with a mental illness, I mean, a mental illness is, number one, just not your fault, right? I mean, there but for the grace of God go I, right? Like, I mean, anybody could have been born with a mental illness, and if you were, you'd be wanting somebody to help you. You'd want to know somebody had your back, or if your child was born with one, or any of those substance use disorders. I understand people, because there's an element of choice to it, right? But like people saying that's not, maybe it's not worth helping people in that situation. Well, on the one hand, like that element of choice, like what you'll hear a lot in like the 12-step world, for example. And it's not that every addiction expert thinks 12-step is the best, but it's something that's worked for millions of people. So I don't mind citing it. Like what you'll hear like with alcoholics is like, the first drink is my choice, but then the dozen after that I have that night are not, don't really feel like a choice, because the addiction takes over. And it's a hard thing to explain to somebody who doesn't have it. But at the, like, even then, it's like, if you believe that people could recover, if you believe that people could start a better life for themselves, then we have to, being the catalyst for that, being the place where they're able to get their footing and then build that better life for themselves. That's something I want to be a part of. If you don't want to be a part of it, that's okay.
I gotta say, I've been close to where I would be homeless in my life a few times. You're always one medical emergency, a divorce, just one little thing away from needing somewhere to go. And if there's someone to help you, you'd want that someone to be there. I've watched people struggle with addiction, and I know how addictive my personality is, and I know that that could be me with one different choice in my youth. If I didn't see it growing up, maybe I'd be a little bit different, like we're all the same person. We just grew up in different environments. I really truly believe that most people are the same, unless you have like something that is mentally disabling to you. We're all just different people that grew up in different environments, and we're all one choice away from needing help. And we should be there for each other. That's our job as humans.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, and you can't, I don't know. I mean, there's no telling, like one thing that goes along with substance use disorders very often is like childhood trauma. I mean, if you had a traumatic childhood and you get exposed to drugs and you're, throw in a little bit of genetic predisposition, and like, man, it's going to be hard for that person to avoid having a real struggle. And most of most of that's not your fault, right? I mean, not every kid is around drugs at a young age, for example, right? So your parents protected you and kept you away from it, and in good situation where that wasn't going to come up. I don't mean you, I just mean whoever.
Yeah, I know you had parents that actually cared about you, took care of you. You were with parents. Maybe you were in the system. Maybe you're, like a lot of bad things can happen to you, like very early in life.
At the end of this year, we're starting a program, at the end of 2025, we are working with a developer to provide case management to kids who are aging out of foster care, who are coming from homelessness. So we already have a program with that population, but we want to do a little more, and in a sort of a different way. But you think about that situation, like a kid does not choose to go to foster care, and if they were given that choice, that's even worse, right? I mean, that's far beyond the sort of thing that a kid should even have to think about, right? But that's what they're given, and it's you can guarantee that that's traumatic to a kid, and it has nothing to do with them, and they're going to be in a situation where they will likely be, though not always, of course, in a situation where they might be exposed to, like, if you're homeless and you're a kid who's just about to age out of foster care, like, you're gonna probably be exposed to substances, like that you're around them somewhere. It's hard not to be. And was that your fault? Like, you're a kid, man. Like, you're not. It's just there's a lot of. It's just an unlucky bounce away. And I've had here. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, my phone. Whatever. I don't know. As long as you can see me, we're good.
I can see you for sure.
Great. So sorry, what the heck was I saying about? There was some. I'm sure it was brilliant. Yeah. Like I've had like people in my family, like immediate family, affected by homelessness. Like it's and you think about like the kids I grew up with, lost many kids, people my exact age, right? Like born the year I was born, went to the same, were in the same neighborhoods as me, same friends, and they're dead from overdose or disease related to drugs, or just any suicide. I mean, all these things are why them and not me, right? And that partly, that's part of like, why it feels like, well, if I'm still here, like I kind of have a responsibility to try and make sure that doesn't happen as much.
Yeah, my sister has 3 foster children, and my uncle raised some foster. There's a lot of stuff I don't want to get into, like publicly on a podcast. I'll talk to you about it, but I understand what goes on in the foster care system, and it's not good. And it's not stuff I can talk about because there's like legal issues, so I can't put it out here. But man, there's a lot of bad people in a lot of bad ways that have nothing to do with choices they made too. And people need help, and it's our job to help. And we should, as a society, be trying to clean up all these problems before they start. But at the very least, we can do is we can go back and we can help the people that have been affected by it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and when I, like another thing that as an organization that we're going to start doing a lot more of. So just to tell you a little bit more here, like I've been executive director for a year. Like I hit a year, like a couple weeks ago. And the first year was a lot of like kind of doing less of the things that weren't working. And now we're at a point where it's more like, okay, what are we doing well that we can do even better? But one of the things that we need to start doing is like more advocacy, like really looking at like what is leading to the problems that we're trying to make better, and try to address things in a more like systemic way. But in the meantime, there's still people out here. There's still like a lot of people to help. So that's not going to get any better overnight. So we're happy to be the place that helps people when they need it, and at the same time work toward like, what are the solutions to these that stop the problem before it gets as bad as it can get.
All right. So with that, we will wrap it up. But one more time, on the mat for Matt Urban, it's going to be a 3-hour charity roll-a-thon. Ryan's going to roll. We're going to donate money for every submission he gets. $20 to come in. $10 suggested donation for a spectator. Obviously, if you're bringing like a 1-year-old or something, do what you need to do to show up and help us out. Although it's not on there, the time that starts is 11. We'll be there a little bit earlier.
10.
10. I'm sorry, 10. See, if it was on there, I would know.
I know.
10 to 1. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 10 to 1. You can sign up at the door, but it'll help us a lot more if you sign up at the link I just posted in the chat. I'll also post when I resend this out. Everything you can do will help. If you had just joined us now, go back and listen to this whole podcast, and you'll hear a lot about what we got going on. Thank you so much for coming on, Ryan. I really appreciate you. I'm sure we'll wrap it up more and more, but thank you for coming on, and thank you for telling us about the Matt Urban Center.
Thank you for having me. So grateful for you hosting the event. So grateful for you having me on here to talk about it. And yeah, we'll over the next couple of weeks, hopefully we'll work together, get the word out in some different ways. And yeah, appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
Maybe try and get some sponsors, something.
Yeah, no, I would like to do that. I'm like trying to figure out who to reach out to that we don't already have, like who would be interested in this event in particular. And maybe you and I could talk about it offline at some point.
Yeah.
But I would love to find somebody to sponsor it. Definitely.
And Josh, if you're watching this, use the Swarm Academy to figure out who wants to help us.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We're out. Peace.
Thanks, man.